Hi, I'm Jennessa Couture, and welcome to Get Coach, a Destroy the Hairdresser podcast. So there is one, mortal enemy for all salon owners, for all stylists, for just everyone in the world, and that is perfectionism. This idea that we have to be perfect at something. And so much so that we have to be so perfect at something that we won't even try to do something new or different. I see this all the time. I especially see it when it comes to social media, posting on Instagram, putting your face out there and all that kind of stuff. When I talk to my students, it'll be like, I used to do stories all the time, or I used to do lives, and one person commented one thing about me or said something bad about me. And I was like, I can't do it anymore. And so I just never did it again. So it makes you feel like you failed. It makes you feel a failure will always be attached to shame, all these things that just aren't serving you in any way. This idea that if I don't do it perfectly, or if something happens, then I've immediately failed at this whole thing. It's like an all or nothing mindset. I don't know if I would say can't even think it's generationally. I think it's just everybody has this, and you're human. It happens. We always think, oh, it's not like I made a mistake. It's like, oh my God, I failed. Oh my God. The amount of times I will carry in my body, the amount of embarrassment I will have because I said something weird when I met somebody, the moments I will replay in my brain because I feel I don't know, my whole stomach, I just feel like I could literally throw up in the moment because I will put myself back in that moment where I feel like I did something wrong, and all of those emotions come flooding right back. The thing is that failure doesn't actually exist. Making a mistake doesn't actually exist. They're all moments to learn. They're all opportunities to learn. And you are absolutely never expected to try something new and be perfect at it. Imagine opening up a salon and being like, oh, I have my master's in this and I'm absolutely perfect and I will never make a mistake because I know everything, because I've done all the research and I know exactly what to do. We're good to go. That doesn't happen ever. You open up a salon and honestly you figure it out as you go. You become a hairdresser and you figure out as it goes, right? You leave hair school and you're like, I'm sure there's part of you in your brain, it's going to be so easy. I'm going to build a clientele. And then you're 2 months in, you're like, where the hell are all the people? You can't be expected to know something that you've never done before. But we hold this idea of perfectionism, we have to be perfect at it. We have to know everything before we start the thing, because what happens if we fail? And then you see all these motivational quotes that are well, what happens if you don't? You're gonna make mistakes. You're going to feel like you failed at something. It's a real thing. The trick is to not feel shameful for it. I tell my students all the time, and I want them to repeat this to themselves on a regular basis, and I want you to do this too, is every single time you make a mistake, just stop and say, turns out I'm a human being. Because you are not a robot. You are not expected to operate as a robot. And every time you make a mistake, it's an opportunity for you to learn. That's it. It's a lesson. Failing, if it were to exist, is a state of mind. If you are failing, it's because you aren't attempting to learn. And so you've just decided that mistake is going to ruin you, and you just slide slowly into ruin and just live there. That's a mindset. That's not a thing. It's not a state of being. It's not a tangible thing. It's a mindset. You could say to yourself, oh, well, now I didn't know that thing, and now I do. And so I'm going to adjust my strategy as a result. This has happened so many times in leadership for me, learning how to lead a team. I have a stylist. I have a team of 23 stylists currently in this moment. It'll fluctuate. I'll have more, I'll have less sometimes. But trying to lead 23 people confidently has been a struggle sometimes, learning how to do any of that. And I've never done it before. It's not like I have opportunities to lead mini armies on a regular basis throughout my entire life. Like that, where am I learning this skill? I have to do it as I go. And sometimes I make mistakes. I know when I was transitioning a lot of things in the salon, when we were changing a lot of things in the salon, at the time I thought, oh, this is going to be the best thing for me to do would be to slowly start to tell everyone what was going on, little bits at a time, like give them little nuggets of information. And it was the worst thing I possibly could have done because all it did was create panic. And I figured that out really, really quickly. And so instead of sitting there and being like, I ruined everything, I can't change anything, now I have to do everything that they want. You know what I mean? Like I had to totally adjust my plan. I can't do any things that I want to do. Instead, I just sat down with them all and was completely honest and said, I made a mistake. Here's what I did. And here's why I did it. I thought giving you all the information all at the same time would be too much information. And so I was giving you little mini nuggets and it turns out it wasn't working. So let's go through it all. And I told them exactly what was going on. We had a full rundown. At the end of the meeting, they were like, great. I took that moment to learn that the best way for me to lead my team is to be open and to be vulnerable because we're humans and that's the best way. You respond to people who are authentic far more than you respond. You know when someone's fake. Like I think especially hairdressers, like we have a really good radar when it comes to someone who's like selling you something or just being fake because we're so used to meeting salon owners who are that way or sales reps who are just selling you something. And, you know, you take a class that's education and it's really about selling you a product. We can see through all of that stuff. And so it was the fastest way for me to learn that being authentic and being me in all of my mistakes, in all of my vulnerability, in all the ways I probably speak way faster than I actually think. It's just who I am, you know? And so I lead my team with honesty. That's the way to do it. It took me making those mistakes. It took me causing chaos with some of my choices in order to realize that I have to actually just change my strategy. That is what failing is all about. I was told one time, it's like when you don't know something, it lives in darkness. And once you learn it, you've now shone a light on it. Now it's in the light. And once you pull something into daylight, into the light, it can't go dark again. And that's the truth. Once you know something, you can't unknow it. And so every opportunity that you feel as if you fail, you're actually taking an opportunity to learn and to grow. But how you perceive those moments are completely up to you. No one else is going to be able to pull you out of that. You are the only one who can. Because if there is entitlement attached to that, and that really, I think that's the negative side of that emotion. If you're like, I failed, I don't deserve anything. I don't deserve to fail. I have to be perfect at this. It has to be the best, right? I've ruined everything. If you're living in this like tornado of self-pity, then you're choosing to slide into that mental state and everything else is going to come with you. But if you just laugh it off, find the lesson, and change your strategy, it's just so much easier. It becomes so much easier. You know, I was talking to somebody about ego. And I thought this was a really interesting conversation when we were talking about what ego is. And really, your ego, you know, I think we have this idea of like our ego is this, on a movie will paint it as like, if you're egotistical, you're arrogant. You know, it's like this, your ego is this thing that tells you that you're amazing. And all of a sudden, if you're an ego, you're like a narcissist. But that's not in any way where your ego is. I mean, an ego for a narcissist will tell them that. But my ego will consistently tell me that I'm not good at anything on a regular basis. My ego will constantly tell me that I am, not even that I'm going to fail, but that I've already failed. I'm just waiting for the moment that I now prove myself correct. Constantly the voice in my head will tell me that. But if I live in that voice and I listen to that voice, now I'm being self-centered. And now I'm being selfish because I'm taking every moment and making it about me. So that's actually being egotistical. You have to think to yourself, what can I do to get me out of that mindset, right? So like, I know you don't mean to be self-centered. I don't mean to be self-centered, but I definitely can be in those moments for sure. And when I am, I just call it out. This isn't about me, as it turns out. This is about everything else. And so I place my energy in another way. When you're thinking about failure, you're living in a land of lack, right? How do you grow? How do you have any kind of abundant thought if you're stuck in this idea that you should feel shame because you made a mistake? That could be leading your company. That could be making a decision about your business. That could be, I don't know, I've made so many mistakes. I've brought in retail products that I've never sold and then felt totally useless. I've spent money for my company on the dumbest things that didn't give me what I wanted in any way. I have completely failed at salon ownership so many times. If we were measuring failure, so many times. I've hired people I probably shouldn't have. I fired people I probably shouldn't have. For sure. Several times I fired people I probably shouldn't have. I've since hired them back and sat down with them and been like, we got to start fresh. Owning doesn't mean mea culpa. You own a mistake, you own a failure. It doesn't mean, oh my God, now you have to, bow down and ask for forgiveness forever. It means that you learned a lesson. You can acknowledge it. You can acknowledge it to other people and you can just move on, because the shame and the guilt and all of those feelings are doing absolutely nothing but keeping you living in a world of being self-centered and entitled. And I know that's a word that sounds like you're being bratty. It's like the entitled little child sitting in the corner crying because you took the candy away. Like, that's not what this is, but also it can be a little bit. But you can snap yourself out of it by just taking a break. Pause. Don't cycle through everything. Don't spiral. And if you are spiraling, write it out. Go all the way down. Give yourself some space. Do the entire spiral. Go right down to worst case scenario and realize that it's really probably not that bad or likely to happen. And then just get your shit together and move on. It can be that easy. Thank the moment you made a mistake, because if you didn't make it, you would never have an opportunity to be better at that one thing.
Hey hairdressers, are you looking for health insurance? It's time to get healthy with Hairdresser Healthcare, the only coverage designed specifically for the beauty industry. Whether you're an independent stylist, a salon owner with a team, a makeup artist, or a massage therapist, we've got you covered with comprehensive and affordable benefits. With options for self-enrollment and year-round open enrollment, taking control of your health has never been easier. And the best part is, it's available in every state. Visit hairdresserhealthcare.com and take control of your